Christmas has come and gone, and you know what that means. Boxing Day Premier League football is back. We had a number of very interesting fixtures, some that we're going to go through now, some which are yet to be played, but I wanted to get a video out to you guys with some of the key talking points from those matches. Key results that we're going to talk about will be Man City drawing 1-1 with Everton, Chelsea losing 2-1 to Fulham, Newcastle winning out as 3-0 winners against Aston Villa, and Tottenham dropping points to Forest, which to me wasn't really that much of a surprise given all the circumstances. But yeah, let's get into it. Firstly, kicking off with the 12:30 kickoff, Man City versus Everton. This was always going to be a tricky game given the form of Man City, and Pep and Man City have had a hard time of it as of late, not to the standards that they're used to, of course. However, it's good to see that they're normal, they're human to a degree. They've been humbled. Uh, this isn't the normal standard for them. They normally would kick on. They have started slow previously, not this slow, not this run of form, game after game, which is this bad. From this game, they were expected to dominate, as you can see from the momentum and from the stats. They did dominate. That domination didn't result in a win. And again, the early goal from Bernardo Silva, well worked goal from Man City. However, that goal seemed to just bring them relief. It didn't seem to build on confidence. They just seemed to be very relieved that they scored. And I'll say, even though they had a lot of shots, the intent didn't seem to be there. I will give Everton a lot of credit for how well they were structured. Sean Dyche knows how to set up a team. He put Everton in a position where losing would not be an easy thing for them to do. So that goal that they did concede, however, early on, they weren't susceptible to concede another one straight after. They were strong, they were rugged, they set up in a shape that had not only disrupted Man City in this game, but has also disrupted Chelsea, Arsenal. They've all been victim to Sean Dyche's brilliance in terms of setting these teams up defensively. I would call it brilliant. Because to go to three of the best attacking teams in the league, the numbers don't lie. Chelsea being one of those, Man City being another, and Arsenal being another as well. The only one that they haven't faced in this recent one were Liverpool, and they were due to face them. It would have been a very, very interesting matchup given the form that Everton are starting to find themselves into. If they're not winning games, they're definitely grinding them out. Goal by India was one that was very, very well worked. He is, to me, emerging himself as a bit of a star man for Everton. He did have to come off injured, unfortunately, but his general quality and play and his work rate is something that is very, very good. And you can say what you want about the Everton team, but they work hard. Each and every player works very, very hard for the cause. They would be disappointed by the penalty that they gave away. Haaland did step up for that penalty, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It was around the 50-something minute. And the foul, yes, by Milichenko on Savinho was a foul. I had some questions about it. Was it outside the box? Was Savinho going down in the process of him actually getting the contact? Either way, I think the penalty wasn't a wrong decision. Haaland steps up. There was a bit of tomfoolery, shall we say it, from Pickford, from Coleman. That's where he got his yellow card from. And Haaland steps up as confident as you like and misses. He missed. Great work from Pickford. Great work from Everton to unsettle him. Haaland's not been in the greatest form. I think from the Arsenal game where he told Mikel Arteta to stay humble. He's missed the most big chances in the league. It's not the greatest run of form, and again it accrues to, if he's not scoring, what is he contributing to the team? And those are the special forwards who can pull their teams out of the fire. Haaland will put the cherry on top of the cake, but if the cake isn't built, what is he producing? That's the question in its entirety. For Man City, again, did they deserve the win? I think in terms of dominating the game potentially, but on the face of it, in terms of shots on target, if I'm not mistaken, there wasn't a large disparity. Yes, 5-3. There wasn't a large disparity, and Everton did have good opportunities at goal. A lot of the Man City opportunities actually came quite wide of the central area. So again, Man City would be disappointed with the draw. There was talks from Akanji just talking about how he thought the team deserved the win. They were the more dominating team. They just weren't clinical. They weren't able to produce the kind of chances that would, determine that you win. And on another day, Haaland puts away his penalty. Everton don't have the firepower to come back, and Man City run out of winners, changing their form. That wasn't the occasion today. They weren't able to seize their opportunities, and unfortunately for them, are on the result of another disappointing result. They will need to bounce back very quickly. They have spoken about January transfer window and needing new players coming in. We'll see what they can actually muster up and who should be their targets. But yeah, Man City won one with Everton. Good performance from Everton, and Sean Dyche and his team deserve all their plaudits. Next game, which I watched very intently, was the Chelsea versus Fulham game. And Chelsea obviously being in the second place in the table, a lot is expected of them, going up against a tough Fulham team who have taken points from, the likes of Man United, Arsenal, to name a few. This wouldn't be a surprise if they took points off Chelsea, given that last time these two played the same fixture last season with Chelsea at home, Chelsea was able to get the victory from a Cole Palmer penalty. That was the difference, a 1-0 victory. This time they wouldn't be able to get through with just one. They wouldn't be able to get through with just one Cole Palmer goal. Fulham would bounce back very late on in the game. And to be honest with you, Chelsea never truly had control of this game. At home, Chelsea, we know what they like to do. They like to press hard. They like to get control of the game. They like to show their attacking talents. And it wasn't to be this opportunity. They did start well with the Palmer goal. That was after Fulham kind of took the ascendancy in the game. Brilliant turn from Cole Palmer. He is what I would call an in-between player. I've spoken about him many times. Those players who work very, very well in those tight spaces on the turn, absolutely brilliant. And that's where England probably needed him in the Euros instead of on the bench. But that's a brilliant turn. Dribble past the player, nutmeg, finish, absolutely brilliant. He showed his quality right now for Chelsea. 51 Premier League games, if I'm not mistaken, 51 goal contributions, goals and assists. The boy I've known from day one at City, he would be an absolute problem. But even I'm shocked by the fact that he's so consistent with his output. Sometimes he does go missing from games, but again, he's an in-between player. He needs to be fed balls in the right positions, and if he's not taking his chances, that's another question entirely. But again, great performance from Fulham to come up with a victory. Wilson comes off the bench. He's earned this sub tag that he's kind of earned it. I know he wants to be starting. Fulham have put themselves in a great position in the table as well. As you can see, 8th, 7 wins, 7 draws. Marco Silva's done a brilliant job so far for Chelsea. Again, would be bitterly disappointed with how they ended up. I honestly do believe when watching the game that Maresca should have made more changes earlier on in the game. I don't think he was that forthright in making the changes that he needed to, especially on the wings, to be honest with you. I don't think Neto and Sancho gave as much as they could have. I would have liked to see the likes of some of the other players come off the bench. I know that Chelsea have been in a little bit of an injury crisis, but you have got the likes of João Felix off the bench, who we haven't seen. You could have made a couple of changes up front. You could have gone with both Nkunku and Jackson up top. You could have put Nkunku on the wing or just behind the striker, move Palmer out wide. I just feel like there could have been a bit more proactive thinking. Proactive thinking actually came from Marco Silva, bringing on Wilson, making the change and getting that output. It was finished off by Munez with a brilliant finish again, coming off the bench for Jimenez. I really like Munez and that finish that he took. Slight touch to control the ball, very, very slight touch at the right opportune time to catch the defender and the goalkeeper off balance, and a slight finish just to roll it past. Absolutely incredible victory for Fulham. The fans loved it, the players loved it. They haven't won at Chelsea for a little while now, so it was definitely a welcome win for them. And they continue to push on for Chelsea. Fans would say, a manager would say, this is why we're not in the title race because we can't close out games like this. Is that to be true? Yes, but I really do think that they could have done certain things to give them the understanding that, okay, we're not going to win this game by 2-3. No, we're not going to get the dagger goal that's going to end the game. Let's regroup. Let's maybe put in a different structure. Let's put in some players who can counter. Let's put in a slightly different approach than what we started with. And I don't think they actually did that well enough or quick enough for my liking. So Chelsea need to bounce back, definitely. However, they've done really well for themselves this season. If they were to end up in the top 4, top 3, I don't think anybody can really hate on them, to be honest with you. So they'll need to bounce back. Disappointing for them for sure. Next up, Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham. Tottenham's woes continue, and going to the City ground, as I've said many a time, is no easy feat. Tottenham had all of the ball, and that's exactly what Nuno Santos That's exactly what Nuno wanted. He wanted Tottenham to have the ball, run with it, do whatever you want to. But my team know how to counter, and do Nottingham Forest know how to counter. They scored a brilliant counter goal. Anthony Elanga finishing it off. Got Gibbs White with an absolutely brilliant drive through the Tottenham defense, if you can call it a defense. Let's just take a look at the lineups very, very quickly, because this defense for Tottenham, you you're against real Premier League attacks, you're gonna struggle to win games because they're gonna concede. Spence in at right back, Dragerson in centre back with Gray, and Undogi at left back. I mean, they did well just to keep it at 1-0, to be honest with you. Um, Nottingham Forest's game plan is exactly that. That's why they're so good away from home. The crowd and the atmosphere at the City Ground is normally what carries them through, as well as their quality. This time it was, again, an opposition who played right into their hands, to be honest with you. Tottenham didn't really have much firepower for all of the ball that they had. They didn't do anything really with it. No one from the Tottenham team, as again I watched this game in large parts, really stood out to me. I was really impressed from how Nottingham Forest set themselves up. Again, it was away an away from home approach at home that worked perfectly. And Tottenham have their deficiencies that are made worse when they're not at full strength. And even if they were at full strength, I do think that Nottingham Forest was set up perfectly to make this a very, very interesting encounter. Nottingham Forest continued their great work. They're up to third in the table. If I'm not mistaken. Yes, here they are. Who would have thought that they would be third and Tottenham would be 11th? Tottenham just experienced their ninth defeat of the season, and that puts them on par and on level with the likes of Leicester, essentially. So a lot of losses. When if they could have converted half of these into draws, they would be halfway up the table with the likes of Man City and Bournemouth. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to do so. I think they'll need to go back to the drawing board. For me personally, I would look at and having a deep conversation with Ainge in terms of what do you need to drive this forward, because I don't think there's a unison between the board, the manager, and the fans, and I think there's a gap there that needs to be addressed. To be honest with you, I think honestly he is a very talented manager. He has a little bit to learn in terms of his stubbornness, but that's what's gotten him to this point. So how can you knock it? However, you get to a certain level where you're like, okay, this needs to be tweaked and that needs to be tweaked. And I think that's the level that he's at with Tottenham, to be honest with you. Disappointing to say the least, but not a surprise. Again, Nottingham Forest, very good at home, very difficult team to play against, and set up perfectly to disrupt a team like Tottenham. Finally, we're going to go into the last game that we're going to cover, and that's Newcastle United versus Aston Villa. Newcastle running out as 3-0 victors, and again, well deserved. Anthony Gordon starting off the game with absolute fire and showing his quality very, very early on, disrupted Aston Villa, who did not need to be disrupted. They'd found a nice vein of form after being really poor just before then. However, I would say against who they've played, the quality of opposition wasn't to the level that I would say that you've definitely found yourself again. But this game was compounded by the red card of Duran and Schur get into a scuffle. Schur falls down. I'll be honest with you, Schur looks like his foot goes up near the chest area of Duran. Duran, in that midst of it, is trying to kind of plant his feet. Schur's turning over and Duran's foot goes on Schur. Do I think it was intentional? Maybe to a degree, but you can't clearly say it's intentional. You can't definitively say it's intentional, because then you could say the Schur kind of kick up could have been intentional. And so that's why I have an issue with that red card. It changes the whole game. I would have felt like maybe a yellow would have been fair there, if I'm being honest with you. However, the referee saw it differently, and that was pretty much a nail in the coffin for a Villa team who haven't had the best of runs away from home, to be honest with you. They needed to push on and probably get themselves back into this game. They didn't have the firepower to do so. Newcastle definitely did. Isak with a goal early on in the second half pretty much sealed the game up, and then a Joe Linton goal in extra time was the end for Aston Villa. They again haven't had the best time in the Premier League so far, disappointing for them in a number of games. Newcastle seem to have regained their form and are looking up the table rather than down the table. They are in good company with the likes of Man City, Bournemouth, and themselves, and they are only 4 points away, or 4 or 5 points away from being in the top four. being in the top four. So they are and should be encouraged with their performances this season, because they haven't always played the best. Newcastle fans will tell you this themselves. They have not always played the best. However, they pulled it out of the fire, and that's exactly what you need to do. A game like this, they definitely did play better than Aston Villa and did deserve their victory. And it's going to be interesting to see how they push on going further. Guys, hopefully you've liked the video. Let's take a quick look at the Premier League table. We do still have Man United playing Wolves, but it doesn't look like that would impact the top half of the table. And then later on, we have Liverpool versus Leicester, which will be a very interesting game for both the relegation battle and for the title race. Guys, hopefully you've liked it. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment. I want to hear from you all. It's been EDA. I'll catch you soon. Peace.